Dr. Gibbs. So I grew up in an independent Baptist church, and I'm an independent Baptist pastor. And when I was a young person, I was an independent fundamental Baptist because that church loved me. And now, as an adult, I'm an independent fundamental Baptist because I understand it theologically. And you have known a lot of kind of the key men that the Lord has used. You've known them personally, and you are one of those individuals. So I wonder if you could kind of assess the IFB and assess the strengths and weaknesses of today's independent fundamental Baptist movement as compared to just a few decades ago when men like Lee Robertson and Rice and Lester Roloff were around. What would your assessment be?
Well, I had the privilege to defend those men you just mentioned, great men of God, and we have a heritage that is to be proud and we must not forget. Mm-hmm. It startles me when you say, how many of you have ever heard Lester Roloff or John R. Rice or whoever? Okay, and the hands get to be less and less. We must not forget our heritage. But what they preached that was strong was three things. And that's why I'm so proud of the independent Baptist movement today. The first thing was the most critical mission we have is to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. Our mission is not to build great buildings, and I'm thankful for buildings. Our ministry is not to be well thought of, and everybody wants the gospel to be well thought of. But our ministry is to get the gospel out there. And they had a passion for that, an absolute passion. And that's the thing that I love about our movement, Pastor. I don't know of any group that has more fervor at wanting to spread the gospel than our churches. And that's, in the end, the only thing that counts. The second thing they had was righteous living. I think we have forgotten what the world is doing is just moving towards unrighteousness at an alarming rate. And churches are kind of tracking with them. No. If something was right, it'll always be right. If something was wrong eternally, it will always be wrong eternally. And these men of the past, and what our churches are standing for today, is righteous living. I have churches come to me and say, well, we just can't make an issue of sins we used to make an issue of. I said, well, that's a scary statement. What are you talking about? If something is a sin, we must make an issue of it. Because God said, if you love me, keep my commandments. That is the key. And so that righteous living. And by the way, it says the effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man of much. Boy, without righteous living, our prayer life has a tourniquet on it. And everybody, that's something I'm proud of. We're strong on the gospel. We're strong on righteous living. And then the third thing, we're strong on compassion. The Bible commands us to love even our enemies. We're commanded to show this world. Jesus with his disciples said, a new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another as I have loved you. And our movement has a compassion. Men that you mentioned, I knew them personally. They have incredible compassion. We cannot lose the fervor for the gospel. We can't lose the fervor for righteous living. And we can't lose our compassion even for those that hate us and are our enemies. So that's the three things that I love. And what I see nationwide is an awful lot of churches are trying to reach this culture by becoming like this culture. And their man of God touched my life. Dr. Avery at God's Bible College, he said, you can't change people by giving them more of what they already are. What a statement. And so right now, we need to be careful. And if you're going to change something, I always ask the church, you have the right to change. But if you change, what won't you change? Where's the new? Because if it doesn't say this is never going to change, then we're in free fall. And that must not be. So that's what I love about the independent Baptist movement. Our compassion, our fervor for the gospel, and righteous living.